What's up, everybody? This week I'm going to be reviewing God's Left Hand, Devil's Right Hand by Umezu Kazuo, or as he likes to be known in the West, Umez. Umez began in 1962 with his release of Romansu no Kusuri, which kind of got him started off in the mangaka path. And since then, he's released well over 20 manga series, many of which are horror manga. But he also has released a bunch of other stuff under sci-fi or comedy. Inclusively, he's written, produced, or starred in a number of movies and TV dramas. But for those in the West who are English readers of manga, you probably know him best from his release of The Drifting Classroom. The Drifting Classroom was released on Viz some years back through Viz Media. And let me see. It was about a classroom that suddenly vanished, a complete school that suddenly vanishes with the teachers and students in it. Everyone's scrambling to try to figure out what happened. Meanwhile, the teachers and students find themselves in some sort of a parallel dimension, apocalyptic environment, some wasteland of some sort where they have to kind of like struggle to make it through to the end. Of course, it's horror like all of his stuff is, as well as most of his stuff is, the popular stuff. Umez also has released a number of albums, singles, and LPs. I put a link to the bottom to one of his more recent releases, a music video on YouTube of him cruising around Kabukicho in Shinjuku, Tokyo. It's fun, so check that out. But moving on, God's Left Hand, Devil's Right Hand. Kami no hidari te, akuma no migi te. Yeah, this is a fun one, guys. First of all, it's I got the four volume set, and there's 5 stories in here. It revolves around our main character So, who is an elementary school student, and his sister Izumi. So has some sort of like psychometry, like some sort of connection that he has with mental connection with people and spirits and objects and sometimes events. And they often occur when he's sleeping, but then in the stories there's also a very hazy line between sleep, his dreamlike states or trances, and reality. And on the other hand, you have his sister Izumi. She is more grounded in reality. She's kind of like the anchor to the story until the story starts moving forward and she starts to get drawn into the story more and more as Saburota, a spirit, emerges. I'm really trying to do this spoiler free, but that is one part of the story. So and Izumi also have parents. The father's a doctor, mother's a housewife, and friends, classmates at school that also interact and mix into the stories, teachers, and whatnot. Umezu is most famous for the extreme detail and attention he puts into his artwork and the gore, of course. I mean, everything he does is with an extra flair of gore, whether it's decapitation, dismemberment, disembowelment, demonic possession, it's all in there. And of course, all of these things befall children and adults alike, so nobody is safe. But although sometimes in these stories you start to feel bad, you're like, man, these are little kids, dude. Did scissors just come out of a little kid's face? These kids aren't all quite so innocent either. So that's also what makes the stories really fun and horrible. Again, no spoiler here, but for example, in the very first scene of the first story, the rusty scissors, Sabita Hasami, I think is what it was called. But in the very first story, the very first scene, So is having a nightmare of scissors coming out of his sister's face, through her head, out of her eyes. He panics. He wakes up. He shares a room with his sister. He wakes her up. She's like, what the hell is wrong with you? You just had a nightmare again, you weirdo. And seems to just start off with just like this crazy dream. But then the next thing you know, they've snuck out of the house. They're getting in misadventures with bad neighbor kids. And it really starts to go down. From there, as you move forward in the 5 stories, So gets deeper and deeper and deeper connections with this other world, the spirit world, or this world of, I don't want to say ghosts, I don't want to say demons, but something beyond that is not grounded in reality, basically. Um, Moving on, what would I rate this? I have never rated a manga before in my life, but this one I'm going to rate because I enjoyed it so much, basically. I figured that, if you rate something, you give it a high rating, then people are more likely to go pick it up. I'd give this 4.8 out of 5. Why 5? I don't know, I just made that up. Why 4.8? Well, because the artwork is amazing. It's graphic as hell, which is what you want in a horror manga. There are stories in here. There are actual stories in here. Sometimes the stories are a little bit disconnected from each other, but you always have So to come back to. So is kind of the central part of each story. So even if there's a little bit less of his sister or a little bit more of a teacher or of his father in there, it's still really about So and his visions. What else? It was so popular they made it into a movie here in Japan, and they also made a TV drama series loosely based off of this series. God's Left Hand, Devil's Right Hand, but it was named something else. It was a pretty popular series, to say the least. What's another reason? The story, the gore, the imagination that he puts into it. There are some really gnarly graphic scenes, which, of course, I'm throwing up here on the screen as we go along. But there's also some pretty funny stuff going on in there too. Man, those kids get so nervous and they're always shaking and shivering everywhere they go and screaming and moaning, and it creates a lot of tension. So I think one of my favorite parts about the stories, other than just like the gore and the crazy wildness of it, is that whenever some stuff's going down, you see these little kids running around, running to the next scene, running to the next place, shivering and screaming and yelling and wiling out, and no one seems to step in and care about these kids, man. But again, these kids are not innocents. All right. Well, that was my review, basically, of God's Left Hand, Devil's Right Hand by Umezu. I strongly recommend picking this up if you can read any Japanese at all, because the Japanese is really easy. If you're a huge mangaka fan, I'd pick it up just for the artwork, because the art is so dope. Sometimes you have like multiple pages of frames with no dialogue and just gory, gruesome art. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fan translation out there somewhere. And if you can't find this, The Drifting Classroom is available online to pick up. I was just kind of hunting for it earlier in English, but I think I'll probably pick it up in Japanese because I live in Japan and it's much cheaper to pick up titles for me in Japanese. All right, some stuff that I got coming up in the future. I picked up all 27 volumes of Kurosagi Shitai Takuhaibin, the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service. I never got around to reading this. I always wanted to, so I just picked up the whole series, so you'll see that come up. Recently was my birthday, and the lovely lady got me the complete Mizuki Shigeru Guide to Yokais. There's 897 yokais in this encyclopedia. Almost everything he's imagined or read over his lifetime. It's too bad he died in like 2014. I wish he was still around. But of course, Gege no Kitaro and stuff like that. He's what he's famous for. I've been posting these on my Instagram, Koenji-shan Reviews. So go ahead and check those out. Sometimes I'll post some yokai stuff in there as well. I'll also post what I'm reading in there, so check it out. Yeah, here's another yokai book. It's pretty dope. What else? Yokai Kurosagi. I just finished the one off Raichi Light Club. Raichi Hikari Club. Oh, what can I say? Love to hate, hate to love. I'm going to get into this here in the near future. But as I said before, I got a stack of stuff that I've read lately. Manhole, Museum, a lot of stuff that I got to get to and do reviews of. But until then, just gonna keep plugging away reading, guys. If you have any suggestions for stuff that you would like to check out, let me know. I noticed a lot of people are enjoying my IRL, my Tokyo cruises, when I go manga shopping and do like the live manga shopping walks, or when I went to go to an art event, like when I went to the Little Thunder art event in Shibuya at Parco, Gallery X. People really dig those videos on the IG or on YouTube. So yeah, subscribe, like, share. The more subs I get, the sooner I can start doing live video walks, which would be fun. Sometimes I do live video walks on my Instagram as well, but I like throwing up good quality videos, and the Insta live walks, it's just not as nice and clear and refined. And but who knows? I just picked up the new iPhone 12, so maybe my video quality will get even better. I don't know if Instagram can handle it though. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Oh, one last thing before I go. This is the only thing that I've read recently outside of manga. And How to Make Friends with Strangers and Stay Friends Until You Die by Chris, Simpsons artist. If you don't follow him on IG, man, this is the most lovely book I've read all year. And my kids were cracking up at it, man. They thought it was so funny. Yeah, his IG posts are just the best, man. All right, guys. I will be back next week with more Koenji-san reviews. Matane.